Hello everybody, in this new tutorial of Unity, today I'll show you how to throw a grenade with a big explosion effect. So let's navigate to the foreground canvas and create a new button called grenade button, and inside we'll add a game object called grenade mask. In the inspector, we need to add a new component called mask. So here we will make a button with a border and radius, so we can make directly in Photoshop our image and put it directly in the game, in the scene. So here, if you don't have a Photoshop, so we can make this directly in Unity. So let's create a new image here, and we need to import our grenade image. Let's change the name to grenade image, and let's drag and drop it. Oh yeah. So here we need to change the texture type to 2D and UI, and let's apply. So now we can drag and drop it to the source image. So now I think we need to change the grenade mask source. So let's see here. Let's choose this. Yeah, let's work. Cool. Here we have our image, and now we need to make a border. So let's create a game object, and let's call it grenade border. And inside we need to add an image, and let's choose this handle outline. So now we need to add a text, for example, the price of 10 grenades, for example. So let's make price text, and inside let's put $500. And now we need to move it. Let's change the color and make the text at the center. Change the font size. And here we need to make it more greater than. So it's look nice. Let's make some modification because the button is too big. So I think width and height 80, it's great. So let's say 85. That's cool. Let's show it in the game. That's great. And now let's move this button just on the top of the right touchpad. And let's see. That's great. We need to change the scale more a little bit to 0.6, 7 maybe. Yeah. And here we need to make some changes. So let's say 25. and we need to move it on the x-axis. And let's make it bold. Very nice. Now let's move to the asset store and let's download a free package called DM51A1. So it's a grenade, it's a type of grenade. It's a free package. Let's import it and put it in imports folder. And inside we have our prefab, so let's move it in our folder called prefab. And let's drag and drop it this prefab in our scene. Excuse me. And let's move the scale to 400. I think that's good. So now let's create a new folder called script and let's move it all the script inside. And let's create a new script called grenade thrower. Let's open it. And inside we need to define the behavior, how to throw the grenade. So we need to declare some public property here, some public properties. So let's begin by the grenade prefab game object and the fire point. So it will be the point in which we begin the throw of the grenade. And we need to define the grenade number. So it will be int type, integer type. And now we need to define a method called throw grenade. So inside we need to define the rules how to throw a grenade. So if our grenade number greater than 0, so if we have a grenade, we can throw it. So the first thing to do is grenade number minus minus. And I think we need to define a vector 3 called throw position. At the moment it's equal to a new vector 3, and it takes the fire point dot transform dot position dot x and the fire point dot transform dot position dot y, and the same thing in z plus 10 of float. So it's pretty much new. Now we need to instantiate the grenade prefab. So let's create new variable type of game object called grenade object, and it's equal to instantiate, and this instantiate takes in parameters grenade prefab and the position and the rotation of this instantiation. So let's put fire point dot transform dot position and the fire point dot transform dot rotation. That's great. So now we need to make some forces in order to throw this grenade. So let's use the rigid body of the grenade object. Let's declare a new variable called rigid rb type of rigid body, and it's equal to grenade object dot get component type of rigid body. And let's add some forces So let's use add relative force in order to add a relative force in the space, in the relative space. So it will take a firepoint.transform.forward multiplied by -1. So here we need to declare a new property called throw force, and let's initialize it to 100. And here we multiply -1 multiplied by the throw force and put the force mode dot impulse. Very nice. Let's move to Unity editor, and here we need to add a rigid body to the grenade component. And now in the weapon container we add the grenade thrower script, and let's drag and drop the grenade prefab and the fire point, and let's run the game. So here we forgot to attach the event for the grenade button, so let's navigate to the grenade button, and in the inspector let's add on click event. Let's drag and drop the weapon container here, and let's choose our method called throw grenade. That's great. Let's run the game, and when I click on the button, so we have our grenade. So that's very nice. Cool. So now we need to define in the grenade script the behavior of the explosion. So we need to use particle system. So inside this script we need to declare some private property. So let's begin by the countdown type of float, and the second one, it will be a boolean called has exploded. So we needed to define if the grenade has exploded or not. And now we need to also to define a public property type of game object called explosion effect. And we need to define also the delay of explosion. It will be a float property. So in real game we can increase the user performance by, for example, upgrading this delay, or upgrading also the grenade radius or the damage of this explosion. So we need to define also the grenade radius is equal to 5000 at the moment, and the explosion force, it will be 7000. So now on the start method we need to initialize the countdown, so it will be equal to the delay. And now in the update method we need to make, first of all, the countdown minus equal the time dot delta time, and if our countdown is less or equal to 0 and the bomb has exploded equal to false. So we need to make the explode event. So let's create a method called explode, and inside we need to define also the has exploded is equal to true, and the inside of explode method we need to instantiate the explosion effect, and it will be at the transform position and the transform rotation, so it will be at the current position and rotation of the current object. So that's great. Now we'll use the collider in order to get all the touched object with this explosion, and we can define for all the enemies object the damage rate. So here let's say we have an array of touched object type of collider. It's equal to physics.overlap sphere, and it will take the position and the radius. So it will be the transform that position and the greande radius. Now for each collider touched object inside this touched objects array, we'll check if the touched object, so we need to define the rigid body and touched object.getComponent rigid body. So if the rigid body is different from null, we need to make rigid body.addExplosion, and eventually the touched object is equal to all the overlap sphere dot where the tag equal to enemy. So we get only the enemy's touched object, and inside here we need to add the explosion force, and we need to get this target. For each enemy we need to make take damage, and let's go to the head and define the damage rate. So eventually in real game, as I said previously, we can upgrade the player performance by upgrading, for example, the damage rate of the grenade. So here let's define it to 6t, and here finally we need to destroy the greande object. Very nice. I think it's done here. Let's navigate to the Unity editor, and here let's move to the asset store and let's download a free package called Unity Particle. Inside we have many effects and eventually the fire explosion effects, and we have here smoke effect, torch effect, and let's choose the big explosion effect. So let's drag and drop it in the scene and let's see this big explosion effect. Let's play, and here we have our explosion. It's very nice for free assets. So now let's move it at the center and let's run the game to see this explosion effect. It's cool. So we need to drag and drop this effect in our prefab folder, and the greande prefab, let's drag and drop the explosion effect, and here when I throw our greande, so we have a loop, and this effect we need to disable it. Yes, and let's see. So here we can launch the greande. It's very nice. So let's enable the zombie, and here we can launch the greande. So I think we have a spelling mistake here for the tag. Yeah, that's worked correctly. So let's instantiate more zombies here. And let's run the game. So here we can move, I can shoot them. And we can launch a grenade. That's worked correctly. Very nice. So I think we need to change the children of this prefab, the light. We need to disable the loop for all the children's. Yeah, great. Let's launch the game now and let's have a fun. Yeah, that's worked correctly. We don't have a loop here of the effects. So thank you very much. That's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next tutorial.